Support for Backpage has been provided by Kohopono Multimedia Publishing, on the web at kohopono.com.
Hello and welcome again to Backpage. I'm Jody C. and today we're visiting with L.M. Parkhurst, otherwise known as Lene Jarvis, about her book. This is one of a trilogy, right?
Yes.
It's called Realms, Book 1. So welcome to the show.
Thank you.
And tell me about this. Tell us all about how this came about.
Well, I've always wanted to be a writer ever since I was 18. And when I turned 18, my dad said, "What do you want to do with your life?" I said, "I want to be a writer." "Nah, you can't make any money at that." So I got a criminal law degree, English literature. I've done every job, but I've always been putting writing, somewhere in my life. And when I turned 38, I said, "This is it, I'm gonna do it." And a friend of mine said, "Why don't you write about a bartender in the future?" And I was like, well, that's just dumb. And then I started working on the idea, and it turned out to be a space station, which is like a casino, and the main characters are mixologists, so they're doctors now. So they've been trained in chemical compounds, literature, different intergalactic languages, and so they've gone to school for 15 years, and they are contracted by the university to different space stations, and it's a very lucrative position. But they are in contract. They have a very rigid life. Everything is very up to code, and they're celibate, and it goes on from there. And in the book, the manager of the space station goes and he starts having feelings for this one mixologist. And there's background stories, but long story short, without giving away too much, I try to deal with things that we deal with every day, but 200 years in the future.
Okay. So there's a lot about the planet Terran, or Terra.
Terra would be Earth.
Which kind of ruined itself and everybody had to leave, had to exit, right?
Well, they had a virus, and Raleigh was the planet that was in a civil war, and they destroyed their planet, and the owners of the space station actually came from that planet. And they found an old rusty hull of a ship, and they revamped it and turned it into Realms. And now Realms is like the destination for anyone, and they save up for half a lifetime to go spend a week at this resort.
Yeah.
They have everything you can imagine.
Right, so it's an intergalactic hotspot.
Yes, exactly.
So
I like the way you said that.
well, but I mean, you can use that in your next book, actually.
Okay.
That's fine with me. But there's all these different creatures with different allergies and stuff. Like one can't drink this particular thing because it would kill them. How did you come up with all of that stuff?
Because I started thinking about if, as a bartender, we're only serving humans because we're human. But in the future, let's say you're serving species from other galaxies. Well, maybe water is poisonous to another species. So that's why they study chemical compounds, and they have to learn all the different species that they know of. And they have different bottles and different drinking vessels, and everything has to be perfectly done. And there is one instance in the book where she mixes up, and they call them poisons, and she mixes up, and the Kelton has a bad reaction, and it's a huge debacle.
Yeah.
And so I think that, we always think from our point of view, but that's just very self-centered, and we don't all have the same ideas of what we want. And I think if you started thinking about aliens, well, then you broaden the spectrum of what's important.
Sure. So, is your dad still with us?
No, he passed in 1986.
Okay.
And his name is also L.M. Parkhurst, so it was kind of an honor to him.
Yeah. So I was just wondering if he's
I think he knows.
good. So, how long did it take you to work on this book?
Well, here's the embarrassing thing, 10 years. Because in between many jobs and moving and things like that, and I actually wrote the first book longhand because I was very computer illiterate and I didn't have a computer, and when I finally got a computer, I started transferring it and altering it, and once I did that, it was fast. Yeah. And now that I know how to use a computer, it's really fast. The second book is done. It's going to the publisher this week. The third book is halfway done, and so now that I kind of have this writing thing under my belt, it goes fast. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, in the editing process, which is like homework, not very fun, but yeah. It's amazing when you're in the mode, you don't notice you've put the wrong tense in, or you've left off quotations, or many things like that. Mm-hmm.
Does the program that you use put those in there for you?
No.
Okay, well.
That would be me.
Okay. Well, one time I was meeting with an agent, and she said, "Do you really type everything on a typewriter?" And I went, "Well, not at first. At first I write it in a notebook." She went, "Get a computer." So, and I didn't think I'd ever be able to write on a computer, but really,
oh yeah,
it's much faster.
And the other thing is, when you write longhand and you change it, you got to go back, and it's a very long process to change. Right. In the computer, you just erase, go again. Mm-hmm. I don't like quite the way that sounds, erase, go again, and it's just so much faster, and it's not so hard on your hands. I like that part because after a while, you're like, I can't keep writing.
I used to have an IBM Selector 2 typewriter, and had a little backup thing. You backed it up and then punched the key and like that. And I made so many blunders typing that I could actually type almost as fast going backwards as I could going forward. Because I was always correcting stuff. So it's much easier with a computer. So the book 2 that you've written and is now going to the publisher, is it like a continuation of this story?
It is a continuation, although you can get the second book without having read the first book.
Okay.
So I do use references, but I also explain the references, so if somebody's just reading the second book, they would understand at that point, and I'm hoping it leads them to go back and read the first book. And I had somebody say a really nice compliment to me, that he said, "I love your characters. I think about them all the time, and I wonder what they're doing." And I was like, wow.
There you go.
That was really a nice compliment, because that really made me smile.
Sure.
Because we have doubts. We always doubt ourselves, like, can I really do this? And I'll tell you, when that one was finished, and I hooked up with Outskirts Press, and we went through covers, and I saw that, and I was like, that's it. That's it. And it was the happiest day of my life.
Well, good for you. My sister, when I wrote my first book, my sister called me, because I sent her a copy of it, or sent her a diskette, that's what it was, and she said, the interesting part was that I kept forgetting that it was a book that my sister wrote. And I said, well, that's good. She said, it is? I said, well, yeah. And she said, well, I thought maybe it was, but I was kind of afraid to tell you that.
No, I think that means something.
Yeah, it does. So so you live in John Day, and you hold a variety of jobs.
A variety of jobs.
But it sounded like from the information that you sent me that you're kind of used to that, because you've had a varied career.
Oh, I have worked in a gas station. I have run a marketing department for deluxe check printers. I have taught kids how to ride horses. I've done many things, but I think that kind of rounds you as a person, and then it expands the way you think about things. Because you're not limited to one set of ideas.
Yeah. Did you grow up in John Day?
No, Los Angeles.
Wow.
Not in this. I know.
Yeah.
I know. It's
so, explain that move.
Well,
what happened?
I was born in the Valley, San Fernando Valley, and when I moved from there, I went to Santa Clarita, which is the next valley over. I was married, and I had 2 lovely children, Cole and Drake. And as they got older, it was time for me to move on, and so we had a long discussion, and I was always trying to write. And in Los Angeles is very expensive to live.
Sure.
And I decided to head towards Oregon, and I ended up stopping in Sacramento. And I got a union bartending job at the airport, which was a great job and very, financially stable. And I loved it. I met people from all over the world, but that's when I got really serious about trying to write. And the job started out as 4 days a week, 3 days off, perfect. Then they kept adding a day, and by 3 years I was 7 days in, and here I am again doing 7 days a week. So long story short, it was time to go. And my sister, who lives in John Day, had always asked me to come up there, and I was like, I was finally ready for small town life. And I was very happy I did. The people there are amazing. The support is amazing. So.
Yeah, you're getting kind of misty-eyed just thinking about it. But that's good. It's nice to love the place where you live and love the people that surround you. And I'm glad you know Tommy. You know.
Oh, yeah, he's wonderful.
Yeah, we're talking about Tommy Skeens, who's been on this show before. He's a great guy. Anyway, so talk to me about your daily schedule. Do you get up and write early in the morning, or?
No, I usually have to be at work by anywhere. It varies depending, of course, what I'm doing, because I also drive a school bus. So just different days are different. I have to write everything on a calendar so that I know. Some days I'm driving and I'm going, now where am I going today? Because I don't always remember. So I'll start around 7 in the morning, go to work, and then I'll usually have a break around 1. I come home and get my dogs. We go for a hike up on the mountain, and that is like my, zen. I'm clearing my thoughts and getting my exercise, and I come home and I go back to work, and then I come home again, and then I try to write. And every once in a while I'll have like a long period of time off, and I'll just write. And lately it's just nonstop. The words are literally just pouring out of me, and I got to take advantage of that, because there was times when I had to sit there and get up and walk around, and sit there and get up and walk around, and at the point you're like, am I really writing? Am I a writer? What am I doing? How will I ever do this for a living if I can't just sit here for half an hour and write? And there was a few times before I learned how to use a computer that I deleted chapters. And they don't come back when you delete them.
I know.
And I was very frustrated, but I said, you know what, I have to go, okay, it was meant to be for me to write them again better.
Yeah.
And it's been challenging, but it is my love to write.
You know, one time when I was writing the computer screen, which was normally kind of a royal blue, I don't know what I punched, but suddenly it was blood red. And I thought, as I often do, I'm screwed. And I called my friend Sheila, but she was at the dentist's office, and so somebody in her office talked me back to blue. But, there was my whole story, just...
Oh, yeah, and there's a lot of buttons I don't know what they do, I don't need to know because I'm writing books.
Right.
And it's just, for a while there, I was on the phone with my kids all the time. They're grown up, but they are computer whizzes. Okay, now, and they would actually talk me through it, and I'm in John Day talking to Los Angeles,
Yeah.
And then I'd hang up, and then, oh, crap, call them back. And they're like, it's okay, Mom, it's okay. Just calm down. It'll be fine.
Well, and I think I told you this, that science fiction is normally not my cup of tea, but the characters that you created pulled me in quickly, which I was grateful for. Kept me locked into the story and reading and wanting to know more. So that's good.
Well, I take composites of people I know, and like my sister is a homeopathic doctor.
Yeah.
Well, I wanted a homeopathic doctor, so I used her physical description, and so she was going around telling everybody, I'm in Lene's book. I said, it's not really you. It's a character based on you.
Yeah.
And then the character ended up supposedly dying, and then she was like mad at me.
No,
and
you killed me off.
I said, well, that's what happens when you make me mad. No,
So the second book is called what?
Realms Book 2.
Realms Book 2.
Very original title.
Yeah. And then Realms Book 3.
Yeah, okay. And I haven't decided if I want to call it Book 3 or the final. So I'm torn, but we'll get there. And then I have another series that I'll be working on. I've already been compiling all my backup information, because she's a paleontologist / anthropologist professor, and it's in the future. It's a sci-fi, but she's tired of being in the classroom. She wants to be in the field. And that means going to other planets. And then I'm going to tie in, she will sometimes go to realms. So I'm going to keep realms alive that way. And I there's some of my favorite characters. I want to pull them in. So I thought, well, it'll work for me, and I already have these characters developed. So it'd be, if it works with the storyline. Yeah. So I'm excited, and I really can't wait to start the next series, because the character is going to be very different from this character, in that she's a little bit wilder and walks a fine line between good and bad, but always for the right reason.
Okay. Okay. Stay tuned for that one. Hey, if you're just tuning in, I'm Jody C. This program is Backpage, and we're visiting with Lene Jarvis, otherwise known as L.M. Parkhurst, about her book, Realms, which is science fiction, interesting science fiction. So what are you doing to market this besides showing up on television?
Well, that has been my downfall, is I have dropped the ball on the marketing because of all the jobs. And I've been talking to my friends that help me and saying, summer is coming, school will be out, I need to start getting together on the marketing. And Outskirts Press has been wonderful about helping me with what they think I should do. And that would be like sending books to magazines that specifically work with sci-fi. And a lot of it is on the internet, but I also still want to start doing some book signings and just putting it out there, because it's nice to have a lot of support in my little town, but I need that little town to grow, and I need more and more people to be aware. And I'm bad. I will just give books away, or I'll let people borrow them, and people don't have money nowadays, and it's tough. And I realize that, but I want people to read because I think I have something important to say.
So have you thought about contacting the Star Trek convention people?
No, my one girlfriend keeps saying, I could see it as a movie, I could see it as a series, you should talk to producers. And I'm like, yeah, I'm thinking they have like 100,000 people trying to talk to them. But I thought what I would do is when the series is completed, then I can start mailing the trilogy out, and maybe that would make a difference.
Yeah.
And I do see in the future that it could be a movie, and that would be great. And that was part of me keeping the rights to the book.
Yeah. And so you've managed to do that. Oh, good. So you're working how many jobs now?
4.
4 jobs. And I'm surprised you even have time or energy to write.
Well, I think if you really want something and you have it in your heart, you do what you have to do. And I love writing so much. To me, it's not work. It can be, but it's like it's already there somewhere in my head, and I'm just putting it out. And the funny thing is, the characters tend to write themselves. I'm just the person on the keyboard. I don't always know what's going to happen, and a lot of times I'm not sure why something has come about, and then the next thing I know, it works into this, and I'm like, oh, okay.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah, and it's like I have in the 3rd book, without giving anything away, I have created a bio-droid who is an assassin, and my intent with her was she was going to be purely bad, do a job, come to kill, da-da-da. And no, of course, because she has free thought, she has the ability to choose, she decides to change my whole direction. And then you end up liking the character, and I'm like, okay, here we go again. So anyway, you just never know. It's like you throw the dice and see what happens.
I found that if I had the thought, like one night I had the thought, I wonder why my great-grandparents chose to call my grandmother Lois, L-O-Y-E-S, which was her middle name, as opposed to Della, which was her first name. And the next day, Della Heron showed up in my novel. I don't know why.
I think we're all, there's so many things that connect to you. And then also because it's a part of your family. And I think that, we want to honor people in ways that we can. And at the same time, I find that sci-fi is a great venue for when somebody has driven you insane and you can use their character in the book.
Yeah, that'll work. So where can people buy this book?
Well, right now, Amazon.com and Barnes & Noble, and actually any website that sells books.
Okay.
And I don't have any physical books out in any place yet, but I hope to change that soon.
Well, how are you going to do that?
I have to get out there.
Yeah.
I have to, I'm kind of an introvert in terms of I don't sell myself. And I need to start trying to do that, because you have to believe in yourself so that other people will. And so I think we're going to try some little small trips, do some book signings. And I think if I can actually start the process, then I don't get all like, oh, I can't do this.
Yeah.
It will help, and then I'll get more comfortable, and once I get more comfortable.
Right. When you realize that people don't show up at a reading and book signing to boo at you, You know, they come to be entertained, you know, and maybe buy a book, you know, and get to know what the author's like. So if you can provide all of that for them, you know, they're not coming to shoot your tires out. They're
Let's hope not.
Yeah, they're coming to be friends with you.
Unless they were a character in the book that got killed off.
And I was like, that's me. Oh, that rat. So did you happen to bring some books with you?
Yes, we did.
Oh, good. So you can stop by whatever bookstores are here in Corvallis and
that's
go.
a good idea.
Well, I mean, as long as you're over here,
Yeah.
how often do you get over on this side of the state?
How often do I leave John Day would be a better question.
Yeah, how often do you leave John Day?
Last time I left John Day was 2011,
Yeah.
and went to an LA book signing, which LA is not the best place to start doing book signings in. You know, it's a crazy city, and even though I'm from there, I was very happy to leave. And I forgot what the traffic was like.
Oh, it's intense, isn't it?
Oh,
Yeah.
I mean, it takes you 2 hours to go 20 miles.
Yeah.
So happy in John Day, we have one stoplight. And the fastest you can go is 30, so it's great.
Yeah.
When I moved from LA, Sacramento to John Day, it took me a long time to slow down, because in the big cities you're always in a hurry.
Yeah.
When you move to the country where people are like, they actually say hi to you when you say hi, and they talk to you, and it's very difficult to go to the market nowadays because you're going to run into 6 people you know, and everybody wants to talk, and even people you don't know want to talk. I called the wrong number the other day, and I was calling one of the bus drivers, and some guy answered, and I go, I'm looking for Betty. He goes, no, you got Hank here. I said, oh, Hank, I'm sorry, I have the wrong number. He goes, what'd you need? I go, I need to know if I'm driving a bus today. He goes, yes, you are. I went, okay. He goes, you want to keep talking? I said, no, I got to go.
And have Betty call me. Hey, if you're just tuning in, I'm Jody C. This is Backpage, and we're talking with Lene Jarvis about her book, Realms, but it's under L.M. Parkhurst. Why did you decide to do that?
That is actually my real name.
Okay.
When I got married, I never changed it back.
Okay.
Jarvis is a married name, but Parkhurst is my real name.
Okay.
And I'm still torn about actually legally changing it back, but I kind of like to have the separation, just in case, you know, that day comes and I actually start selling a lot of books. I want to have a hiding place, you know.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's easily done. Well, are you going to write anything other than science fiction?
I have started several other things over the years, and I've been going through my papers, and I found a couple things that went, you know, this isn't bad. I could start over and write it better, and they're not sci-fi. So I like sci-fi, but it's kind of like, I think I want to establish myself, and because I know, in fact, John Day is not a sci-fi town. They like westerns.
Yeah.
And so I was still surprised that I had as many people support me but they're very good about supporting their local artists there. And amazingly enough, in such a small town, we have many writers and artists, and that little area is very creative.
How close are you to Enterprise? Is it close?
About 3 hours. About 3 hours.
Okay. Because I've been to Enterprise, and
It's very beautiful.
it
right?
is beautiful. And there's a writer's retreat there called Fish Trap.
Oh, really? See, I
Yeah.
didn't know that.
And because the first time you get to read at Fish Trap, you get to carve your initials in the podium.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So that was kind of fun. And I had no idea about that, but it's a great place, and it's beautiful. And we were also in Union. Is that same about 3 hours?
Yeah.
Something like that.
I'm like,
Yeah. But,
my directions are like not very well.
yeah. So you went to John Day because your sister lives in John Day. What brought her to John Day?
Well, she was also born in Los Angeles, as I was. And when she grew up, she moved to San Diego, and she was an obstetrics nurse. She went to school to become that. And she actually got electrocuted, and she died. And they revived her, and she was in the hospital for many months.
Wow.
And that's when her partner decided vitamins were the answer, and so he actually stole her out of the hospital and put her on omega vitamin therapy, and they moved to Oregon to live the natural life, and she had animals and learned to can, and she got better. And so now she practices homeopathy. So things lead into other things.
Yeah.
So it was and I'm very natural, and I love, trying to be healthy and do all the right things. And she has the health food store, which I love working there, because you try to help people. Mm-hmm. And I try to always have a balance between everything, spiritual, physical, and if you can achieve the balance, then you're doing pretty good.
Mm-hmm. Boy, no kidding. So, but with working 4 jobs and trying to write, it makes me wonder how you do that, how you do the balance part.
I don't think about it, because I've had people say, how do you do it? And I just go, I don't think about it, because if I started going, wow, how am I doing this? Then I would start falling down. And
I think show up with a bus full of little kids in front of the bar. They might go, oh, maybe I need to take a deep breath here and step back.
Well, yeah, that would probably be the last time I drove a bus.
Yeah.
No, I pretty much, at least right now, I can still separate things. And I like doing what I do. I love working at the schools. I love working at the bar. And I only do that one night a week, so it's good because I've done it full time, and that's very draining because people can wear on you. And as a bartender, you're everybody's confessional. They want to tell you everything, and of course you're like a priest. You cannot say anything. Yeah. So even if somebody walks in and says, "What'd they say?" you can't say anything. But that can be draining. So one day a week is cool, and it still gets me out in the public with adults, sort of. So depending.
Yeah, depending on who it is. In reading this, the parts about the mixologists and all that they had to know, but they also had to know how to keep the peace.
Oh yeah.
Because somebody's going to be too drunk at one point, and
they have their slayers, and their slayers are there solely for their protection, and the slayers are like the counterpart to the mixologists, where they've also been trained, but they were trained to do what they do, is to protect the mixologist.
Right.
The mixologist is the money maker for the casinos, so they don't want anything happening to the mixologist. But at the same time, they have security teams, and everything is always monitored. And they have to go through a checkpoint before they go into the lounges. They have no weapons or anything else, but still, there are occasions when things can happen. And a good mixologist knows how to defuse the situation. Yeah. And that's true with a good bartender too, is you don't want to ever get hands-on with people, because especially somebody that's drinking, they get aggressive when you do things like that. And it's like being calm and keeping the peace is the best thing to do. Yeah.
Well, listen, we're about out of time, so we're going to have to saddle up and ride on out of here. If you're interested in sci-fi, if you like reading science fiction, this is Realms by L.M. Parkhurst, also known as Lene Jarvis. I'm Jody C. This is Backpage. Thank you for joining us. Join us again next time as we take another peek at the back page. And remember, we're all in this together. More the same than different. Do your best.
Oh, that was very cool.
Thank you.
Thank you. You did a good job.
Support for Backpage has been provided by Kohopono Multimedia Publishing, on the web at kohopono.com.